Okay, so this is One Small Step for Man.
I'm Madison and I play the first announcer.
I'm Melanie and I play Neil Armstrong.
I'm Clayton and I play second announcer.
I'm Ellie and I play narrator and Buzz Aldrin.
I'm Caitlin and I play mission control. I'm Allison and I play President Kennedy.
The space race. Since the defeat of Germany in 1945, the United States and the Soviet Union have been engaged in a bitter contest with each other for military and political supremacy. This Cold War was a conflict characterized by political efforts to influence and control other countries. There were regional wars between communist forces and U.S.-led forces in Korea, Vietnam, and other areas. The competition expanded into economic, social, and technological arenas. In 1957, the Soviet government launched Sputnik, a satellite that orbited Earth and made a number of major advances in space far ahead of the United States. This launched a space race between the two nations that culminated in a race to be the first to walk on the moon. President Kennedy issued a challenge in the nation in 1961, suggesting that the United States should be the first nation to safely land a man on the moon by the end of the 1960s. Despite the country's involvement in a fiercely unpopular and extremely expensive war in Vietnam, the nation financed this effort to send an astronaut to the moon. The American astronaut Alan Shepard made a 15-minute suborbital launch in a rather weak missile in 1961. Yuri Gagarin had already orbited Earth from space in a much more powerful Russian rocket. In 1965, a Russian cosmonaut became the first man to walk in space. The United States had a lot of work to do to catch up. The first Apollo effort was a disaster. 3 astronauts lost their lives in a fire during a training mission in Apollo 1 spacecraft in January 1967. After a great deal of investigation and redesign, the crew of Apollo 8 reached the moon and orbited around the moon 10 times in 1968. Apollo 11 was launched on July 16, 1969. The moon landing occurred 4 days later, answering the challenge of a president. Several more flights were made, including Apollo 13, where the astronauts were stranded for a time in space. Apollo 17 was the last lunar flight. Space shuttles became the new focus of American effort in space.
The first moon landing was a central act of the space race between the two superpowers of the late 20th century, the United States and the Soviet Union.
Ladies and gentlemen of our viewing audience, the date is July 20th, 1969. Welcome to the National Television Network coverage of the effort by a team of American astronauts to become the first humans in history to walk on the surface of the moon. For those just turning into our coverage of this historic milestone, a Saturn rocket blasted off from Cape Kennedy on July 16, 1969, carrying the Columbia Command Service Module and the Eagle Lunar Module carried to the moon. On the third day of the mission, Columbia separated from the Saturn rocket and positioned itself in lunar orbit.
This is a day that Americans have anticipated for almost a decade. Huge amounts of money and time have been spent answering this challenge posed by President Kennedy 8 years ago.
I believe that this nation should commit itself, before the decade is out, to landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to Earth. No single space project in this period will be more impressive to mankind or more important for the long-range exploration of space.
Today, we will see if that challenge will be fulfilled. Let's listen to communications between the astronauts in space and Mission Control in Houston.
From Columbia, the view of the moon we've been having is really spectacular. It's worth the price of the trip.
Mission Control has cleared astronauts Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin to enter the lunar module and separate from the command module.
The astronauts are on the dark side of the moon and out of radio contact with Earth. We should hear shortly as Apollo reappears on the near side of the moon.
Apollo, do you read? How does it look?
The Eagle has wings.
They've separated the landing module and from the command module. The module is in its own orbit around the moon.
You are clear to begin your descent to the surface.
Our listening audience may not realize that the astronauts have a very small window of opportunity in which to land. They must find a smooth, flat, safe surface on the Sea of Tranquility, the crater where the Eagle is scheduled to land, and they have only a limited supply of fuel.
Houston, we have a computer alarm going off. It's a code 1202.
Eagle, the computer controlling. Your descent is overloaded and it can't handle any more input.
The alarm has stopped. Maybe it's just a glitch.
You're still go on mission.
We're at 3,000 feet and dropping.
Another alarm.
We're unloading some of the files from that computer. It should be able to function now.
We're at 2,000 feet. We have another computer alarm.
Now we are at 2 alarms. Should we abort? Computers are malfunctioning. They won't accept data.
We're at 1,000 feet, 700 feet, 600 feet.
The computers won't accept data.
I'm taking manual control of the vehicle. I'm overriding the computers.
540 feet. You're on target.
We're above a pretty rocky area. It's much rougher than it looked in the picture.
270 feet. Fuel is very short.
I'm taking it down. Only 5% of fuel capacity left. I've got a landing spot away from the rocks.
You only have 60 seconds of fuel left.
We're at 40 feet. We're picking up some dust.
You only have 30 seconds of fuel left before you must abort the mission.
We're drifting forward. We have contact. We've touched the moon.
Shut down engine.
Okay, engine stopped.
Engine arm is off. Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
Roger, Tranquility, we copy you. A lot of guys here are about to turn blue. We're breathing again.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Eagle is on the surface of the moon.
Before Neil Armstrong can leave the lunar module, he needs to set up the camera system, make sure the module will open easily, and gather his materials for rock collection. He then will stand on a small platform called the porch at the top of the ladder.
Okay, Houston, I'm on the porch.
We can see you coming down the ladder.
I'm at the foot of the ladder. I'm ready to step off the lunar module now.
We copy you.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
It's done! A man is now walking on the surface of the moon, leaving tracks that will last for centuries, because there is no wind or erosion to disturb the soil. Buzz Aldrin has joined Armstrong, and together they will collect rocks and soil samples to bring back to Earth.
With about 3 hours worth of oxygen, they collected 46 pounds of rocks and soil, took pictures, performed several scientific experiments, talked with the President of the United States, and then took the lunar module back to the command module and returned to Earth. Before they left, the astronauts planted an American flag in the soil and left a plaque which read, "Here men from the planet Earth first set foot on the moon July 1969 AD. We came in peace for all mankind."